Ukraine is bracing for more indiscriminate bombing as Russian forces step up aerial attacks. US President Joe Biden believes that Moscow could resort to using chemical or biological weapons as Russian forces struggle to advance on land. Live to Lviv in Latvia in just a moment, but first, a look at the devastating damage on the ground.
Russia is intensifying its air and sea attacks. The southern port city of Mariupol has become a key battleground. The entire city in ruins, with bodies scattered on the streets. Hundreds of thousands of residents remain trapped amid heavy fighting. Humanitarian corridors have allowed some residents safe passage to flee, but they have been sporadic. Ukraine says it's focusing on evacuating more citizens from Mariupol, even though there are no new agreements for humanitarian corridors with Russia. The eastern cities of Kharkiv, Sumy, and Chernihiv, also the target of Russia's assault. Authorities say nearly 1,000 buildings have been destroyed in Kharkiv, most of them residential.
А кому еще, собственно говоря, то есть, выезжать из города не вижу никакого смысла, никакого, да. Идти в тероборону, не имея военного опыта, а помогать городу хотя бы пассивным трудом, почему бы, да.
Ставим решетки, чтобы мародеры не лазили. Закрываем окна, чтобы сюда не лазили воры.
Despite the widespread damage, Ukrainian forces are keeping up a fierce resistance. After days of fighting, Ukraine claims to have regained control of some parts. They say they pushed Russian troops out of Makarov. The town just outside of Kyiv had sustained heavy damage from Russian airstrikes. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says his soldiers have been able to slow down the enemy's advances.
Звертаюсь до усіх українців всюди, де ми є. Робіть усе для захисту нашої держави, для порятунку нашого народу. Боріться, воюйте і допомагайте. Гоніть цих рабів, гоніть окупантів, щоб Україна жила. І ми всі разом з нею, вільна і мирна, яку ми так любимо.
Cities across the country are bracing for more intense Russian attacks. Ukraine's military has warned Moscow will continue to fire at critical infrastructure with high-precision weapons.
Боевое применение авиационного ракетного комплекса «Кинжал» подтвердило его эффективность в уничтожении высокозащищенных специальных объектов противника. Нанесение ударов данным авиационным ракетным комплексом по объектам военной инфраструктуры Украины в ходе специальной военной операции будет продолжено.
US President Joe Biden has warned Russia could employ more severe tactics in Ukraine.
Kieran McQuillan joins us live now from Lviv for more on this. Kieran, we're just about 1 month into this invasion, and Ukrainian forces are warning that they expect more intense Russian strikes. How are troops preparing for this?
Well, it's interesting that, in fact, the Ukrainian Defense Forces have stopped taking recruits. They have been oversubscribed. That's the territorial defense and the army itself. They are organizing in these local battalions. So these are men and women of fighting age who are being trained up in standby to be taken into the forces should they be required. But as you said in your report, the skirmishes around these cities continue. In Mariupol, 90% of the buildings there are now reported to be damaged to some extent. And I just wanted to bring you up to date on this ongoing operation in the capital of Kiev. I just spoke to our team there on the ground a few minutes ago, who tell me that 18 hours into this 35-hour curfew, that there is the sound of outgoing and incoming artillery on the north and northwest sectors of the city. The Ukrainians, as you just mentioned in the report, are mentioning that they have retaken the city of Kharkiv, which is 60 kilometers west of the capital. This is a city that has changed hands between the Russians and Ukrainians several times. This curfew will be lifted at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. It is designed to take the people off the streets so that the Ukrainian military have a free hand to try and shore up their defenses in the north and the northwest of the city against those incursions by Russian forces.
Meantime, Kieran, there are many Ukrainians who want to escape this violence, but there have been no agreed humanitarian corridors today. Does that mean people aren't able to get out?
Well, we have a little bit of an update on this. Yesterday, there was a figure of 4,000 people from Mariupol. Now, that is, of course, the most heavily besieged city in Ukraine at present, down there on the Sea of Azov. Today, we heard a report that 15 buses containing about 1,000 people have been able to leave the city of Berdyansk on its way to Zaporizhzhia. Now, this is the same humanitarian corridor that was agreed yesterday with the Russian forces that was then attacked, according to the Telegram channel of the Mariupol City Council. But that same corridor was attacked yesterday and some children were injured. Ukrainian Deputy Prime Minister Irina Vereshchuk, she has just posted at 11 o'clock this morning that an evacuation did take place between 9 and 10 this morning, and that those 1,000 people have been able to make it to the relative safety of the city of Zaporizhzhia. And just to continue with what's going on down in the south of this country, both the cities of Odessa and Mykolaiv have been taking heavy pounding from the Russian Navy, who have been operating since overnight, pounding the city with shells, and in Odessa destroying 2 civilian homes.
All right, Kieran, thank you for that update. Kieran McQuillan there in Lviv, Ukraine.
And Giles Gibson is in Riga, Latvia. Giles, the Kremlin says it wants more substantial talks on Ukraine. What could it mean? Giles, repeating that question, the Kremlin says it wants more substantial talks on Ukraine. What could the Kremlin possibly mean?
Yeah, apologies, I lost you there briefly, but I am hearing you now. Yeah, this is a line that we are hearing from Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesperson, really over and over again in the last few days, basically saying that the Ukrainians are not ready to step up the pace of these negotiations, that they're not willing to compromise in any way. But at the same time, Dmitry Peskov is also saying that the Russians are not prepared to make public their specific demands, basically saying that they're not prepared to put their cards fully on the table here. As far as the Ukrainians are concerned, we've heard from them several times that they believe these negotiations are just really complicated. So they're going to take some time to work through some of the issues here. There is absolutely a sense, though, that these talks that have been going on for some time now have really just started to stall, have started to lose some of their momentum. Of course, we started off with talks in person, face-to-face inside Belarus. Then we had that meeting of the 2 foreign ministers inside Turkey. We then, last week, have had these talks between the 2 delegations going on via video conferencing software, via video link. Just at the moment, we are just not getting the sorts of updates that we were getting last week in terms of daily or even hourly updates as to the progress of these talks. So, yeah, a sense that they are perhaps losing momentum, that they are getting to issues that they are just not able to come together on.
Giles, Russia has rejected U.S. allegations that it is preparing to escalate attacks through cyber warfare or even chemical or biological weapons.
Yeah, that's right. Dmitry Peskov, again, the Kremlin spokesperson, saying that Russia does not take part in what he called state-level banditry, unlike the US and the West. It was responding to comments from Joe Biden, the US president, who was telling CEOs of big companies in the US that they need to start investing in cybersecurity, that they need to start getting ready for some sort of cyber attacks coming from Russia in the wake of those sanctions that have been placed on the Russian economy. this is more generally speaking just a tactic that we've seen from the Biden administration throughout this crisis. They've really been trying to publicly get ahead of what they believe is going to be the next step for the Russians. They are even at times releasing pretty detailed intelligence from US intelligence agencies. For example, before the invasion, when they were detailing in quite a lot of detail the numbers of troops that were massing on the border between Ukraine and Russia. Previously, the US intelligence community has been pretty nervous about that sort of thing because they don't like putting at risk their sources and methods. But once again, we are just seeing the Biden administration trying to warn Russia off by telegraphing, by saying, look, this is what we think they're going to do next.
And thanks for that, Giles Gibson speaking to us from Riga, Latvia.